it is on. Okay, great. Thanks for the reminder. Always forget that. Cool. Welcome to everyone. For those of you who have not joined an Ecocredit Builder Lab yet, we'll do like a quick what this is. In the meantime, feel free to get into chat and share where you are in the world, what organization you represent. Feel free to color that with just any like interests or questions that you already have, just to have that rolling. So the folks from region that are here holding down the fort, me, Becca, hi, and then Austin, Ned, and Erika. And Erika is our head designer, and she's going to be doing our demo, which is really exciting. To orient everyone to this is the second Ecocredit Builder Lab. This was born out of a desire to create a practical and connective space for those that are curious or deep in the work of creating eco-credits. So if it's working on a methodology, if it's working through developing a project, or even figuring out what your concept note could be, this space was intentionally built for us to kind of solve the problems, talk about anything from the nitty-gritties of verification to like how to deal with intricacies of the registry process. So I think what's really cool, just looking at who's already here, is we run that spectrum. The first call, I think it'd be great just to like touch on how that went. Austin, do you want to talk about kind of like the first Ecocredit Builder Lab?
Sure. So, to give a little context, we are very actively trying to not overprescribe the format and what happens on these calls because we don't want to make assumptions about what is needed. We want to hear directly from folks who are doing the work, like where they're at, where the confusion is, where there are impasses, where there are opportunities, etc. So broad strokes is that we're trying to keep this as an open forum, like office hours with the best people we have on the region team to like fully be present and to try to work through the particulars. Not just like building community, but like trying to really make partnerships and get credits out the door to finance regenerative initiatives. So it's like kind of hand waving. And I think we kind of constructed that in the first session around having a kind of the first time project developers sort of introduce themselves and share. It's one of the first times we've ever had that. There's a lot of people on this call and also on the last one that I didn't know, which is awesome. So I'm just gonna ask, there's this little reactions button, like I'm doing it right here on this. Can you raise your hand for a second if you are interested, currently building, or far along in the process of designing an eco credit? Just to get a sense of who's in the mix. Cool. A lot of people. Awesome. Nice. Okay. Um, you can do this thing where you lower it too. You have to like manually lower it. Your arm doesn't get tired on Zoom in the same way. So yeah, we broke into like 3 different groups and we tried to have a nice balance between staff and project developers and to get into like what's alive, what's moving in your project, the nature of where we're seeing success, where we're seeing friction, and it's obviously a really big space. So we appreciate your patience in advance that like not all of the things are easily answerable. And so for this session, maybe I'll just kind of pivot into today and I'll pass the ball back to you, Becca. We're wanting to like run a demo around project pages as I understand it, and how you all can just like the very first step in like getting a project on chain that's visible, public, human readable, a form of storytelling with images and stuff. That's sort of the first anchor point in issuing eco credits or issuing a project on chain. So we're going to do a demo and then we're going to follow the same format as last time where I think we'll like have a slightly curated set of breakout sessions where Erika, Ned, Becca, and I see Nena is here from the foundation will be distributed to different groups and we'll talk about your projects and how to evolve them. Any questions on that before I pass it back over to Becca? Okay, cool. Shall we get into the
Yeah.
demo? Yeah.
And feel free to keep questions going on in the chat there. We'll keep an eye on those. And I feel like something that was on our minds after the first Builder Lab was everybody's working really hard trying to kind of like do whatever's in front of them, whatever this week or this month. And it sometimes feels like I can imagine that you kind of like want to be able to start now. And you can start to think about what your project page could look like, or like what images you want to have and what your credits, what buyers would see on your project pages. And so when the work was done on our app to be able to create profiles and projects without needing a blockchain wallet, we were like, cool, this gives everybody, literally anyone and everyone, the opportunity to go in and create a profile for themselves, create a project using our like project page design, and go ahead and be like, this is my project. This is what I'm doing. Even if you're working on a methodology, even if you're a long ways off from being able to issue credits, if that's your goal, you can still totally use what we've built. And what I think my hope is that folks feel like they can go ahead and like take a bite of regen, and you can go ahead and utilize the functionality that we have to support your project to make it feel real to you what you're doing with us, and that it helps you by the time you get to that issuance point with your credits. We were like, oh, I've spent a lot of time with this page, this design, my story, my like the data that's showing up, and feeling like you've had like more of a participatory experience with what we've built. So I feel like from this, I would hope that a lot of like questions emerge around like why we've designed things that way, or how will data show up in this way. And I think that it would be really cool for to make sure that there's space given for whatever those questions or challenges that folks might have about that space to surface. I asked Erika, I totally put Erika on the spot, um, as our designer to do a demo for us, because she's spent so much time and thought building this out around just like how to create a profile and how to create a project, and you don't need a blockchain wallet. So wanting to walk through that, and you all can like do it on your own in real time, like right now, like with us, because it's hopefully built to be very simple. And then we also want to show you there's a project in the Chaco Andean um, region. They have spun up a project page, and they didn't go through any registry process yet or anything like that. They're just really stoked to talk about and show their project. So I think it'd be cool to land that in someone who's just done that. And from there, we can spin out to the rest of the Builder Lab and like talk needs and breakouts and what have you. Uh, Erika, can I give the mic to you and let you
Yes, I can
run?
take the baton. So let me just share my screen. And what I'm going to show you guys is basically just our new Web 2 login. So you can now log in with Google or with email, and you can create a simple project page without, as Becca was saying, needing to have a Kepler wallet, because that's a really big barrier for a lot of people to figure out how to install that, etc. So the nice thing about this is that it enables people who are much earlier in the process to actually get a project page up on Regen. So I'm just going to log in here, and I'm going to use email. I'm just going to use this fake email for the purpose of this demo. So you just click log in, and then you're going to go over to your email, and there'll be a code that's sent to your email eventually. Okay. Oh, whoops. Maybe I clicked on the wrong email. Hold on. Sorry. Test code. Oh, sorry. 063205. 063025. Sorry.
You're doing
I
so
messed
good.
this up already.
You're just doing incredible. You're doing so good.
It's just showing us that we're all human and we all struggle with those.
Okay. Why isn't this working? This is a good time to say that we just released this feature and there are still bugs, so. Okay, I'm just gonna do the Google login for now because I don't know, maybe something's going on with using the temporary email. Okay, so here I have my user profile, and I can go here to create a new project. Okay, wait, what's going on here? Oh my God. Okay, I'm just gonna log in with Kepler to make this easier, but you can do this.
Immediately after this call, it's all going to work frictionless.
Yeah. Okay, so hold on, I need to figure out which wallet this is. Hold on. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a project. Okay, and I'm gonna just use data from an existing project to speed this up a little bit.
So Erika, just to say, the first thing that you're met with is like the opportunity to create a new project, and you just said yes, and now you're giving the basic info.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, this project's in Brazil. And you can have like a shorter summary that appears at the top of the page. So I'm just gonna paste that in. And then you can have like quite a long 2000 character story that appears more towards the bottom of the page. So if you have a lengthy story you'd like to have there to explain a lot of detail about your project, you can. And then if you have a longer form story, then you'll give it a title. And I can show you how this all looks on the project page once it's published.
But the cool thing about this is even like going through these steps is like this is what you would do if you were literally like creating a project to issue credits. So we've tried to like move up that process to like a much earlier moment where you can like express your project using
Yeah.
all the same functionality
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like
Because
iterate it over time.
yeah, because we used to have it that people would only make project pages after going through the whole methodology development process. So this main photo is the photo that appears on the top of the page and also in the project preview cards. And then you can add some gallery photos too. So you can have like a caption for them, for example. Just add a caption.
I was just thinking with like the gallery photos because it you can move across them almost like a toggle. So thinking about like for Colson Carbon Trust with biochar, like maybe it's like showing like a burn over time or something. And being able to like play around with that yourself instead of feeling like you have to like have us do it or something like that, I think will feel really nice with like this clean interface.
Yeah. And I should also say that like we're gonna start doing actual user testing this week. But in the meantime, if you guys get into this and use it and there's bugs, I can put my email address in the chat and I would love it to hear what those are so we can make some fixes because we haven't widely marketed this feature yet because we know that there's issues. Okay, so this photo at the bottom here, this is if you did add a story, you can have like a photo or a video next to the story at the bottom of the page. Okay, so then I can review my information. Okay, this looks good. Publish the project. So then this is the new project URL that I can click on. And I have my project page here with my gallery. These could all have had captions, but I didn't add that for the sake of the demo. And then we have a story. And this, if you have a longer story, then it gets truncated with a read more. So yeah, and then you can share it with your community. Is there anything else that you want me to show here, Becca?
I was thinking about it would be cool in the example that I have pulled up. I can share my screen and we can all like kind of talk through what the difference would be between like coming in at an early moment to create a project and then what would be added on later. I think that might be cool. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. So this was a project that when they saw that this function was available to spin up a project, they were like on it, ready to go. They wanted to do this. So this is a project out of Ecuador, and they are doing like just incredible regenerative work on the ground, and they're using the Restore platform. And they, as you can tell, like they came in and they put in their location and they put in like project photos. And as you can tell, like it's not like perfected, but they just wanted to get something out so they can show it to funders and show it to other folks that they want to collaborate with. And they've got these like just stunning photos of the work that they're doing. Here's the story again, and they have like a video popped in here. Now, what's cool is like this element within the page after the story is where things start to get much meatier when you're working towards issuing credits. So here where it says like project developer, there would also be other entities here, like maybe you would have like the verifier if you were doing something with verification, or you would have like the credit issuer. You would have the different entities in this space with like cool little logos like that. Then there would be a space below that that would be talking more specifically about the credit. It would be like the data that is anchored on chain, like the different types of data. Maybe it's like information about the eligibility, the location. It's very dependent on like on the approach and on the project. What I think is really interesting about this is that you can as an org, you can start to like have different projects at different like maturity levels. So if you were to go to like your login to your profile, you could see all of your projects and you could see that like maybe some are just like spun up kind of rough and exciting and new, and maybe some of these projects are tied to a credit class and issuing credits. Hopefully it gives folks a chance to really like play around more. That is definitely what we're trying to achieve here. Anything else that you would add, Erika or Ned and Austin, about kind of the design and the setup?
I can say a little something like I think it's pretty critical that project pages are able to be instanced and public facing as soon as possible as part of the process, rather than having people go through a long extended process through which to create a methodology to then have it be public facing. The goal is to have this be like an anchor point for your project that brings legitimacy and like legibility for it to the larger public basically as soon as possible. And so the more detail and the more like information that you add to it, the more effective, obviously, because it is a kind of storytelling. And that in this process, broadly speaking, we're like beginning with something which is very human readable, like that impresses the urgency and the context and the story of place around the project. And throughout this sort of development of an eco credit, it becomes something which is like more machine readable in the form of like the different on-chain entities or actors which are comprising the project, or then more like market readable, like it becomes a discrete unit of value, which is able to be pre-financed or sold. So like we're going through this spectrum of storytelling just to people at the beginning, but then it increasingly becomes something which is more legible to like digital or market-based systems. But it begins with like captivating and capturing the audience at the onset. And to conclude with that, like one of the real dreams that we have for these initiatives is that you're able to co-author the methodology with potential purchasers earlier on in the process, so that this is like a point of reference for potential funders for you to engage with the demand side of the process earlier on in the process, so that they can kind of co-author the methodology sooner rather than later. Yeah, and Erika, I think you were going to say something and I cut you off. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Becca, maybe you could show like a full project page that's further down the
Yeah.
process, just as a contrast. But yeah.
I feel like that's great. And I also just want to show too that like from the main login, like if I'm logged in and I want to be able to like, I can just edit my profile really easily, just like you would on any other platform, and then see multiple projects here. So you'd be able to easily move between your projects and upgrade your profile. Yeah, I feel like that's just hopefully like a pretty clean user experience, as opposed to before, which you needed to make a Kepler wallet and to go through a crypto journey. And for a lot of folks, that's just not something that is agreeable at that point in time. So hopefully that makes things smoother and easier for you. But yeah, I'll pull up a project. Actually, Ned, do you want to share the project page uh for the Gurgitch Hills Estate as like an example? Or I can share my screen and you can like kind of talk about it.
Yeah, I could talk about it if you've got it handy.
Yeah, I've got it right here. Go for it.
Yes, this is a project that was started, I don't know, half a year ago, something like that. Using it was a sheep grazing and vineyard methodology, and this is really, one of the first projects under environmental stewardship that we've got up. And there, I don't. There's some cards there on the right that show the benefits of the project, and we're working on a taxonomy now to kind of standardize some of this across projects. So that's a work in progress, but it's well underway. And also from this page, you can click on, there's a credit class link there. So if you wanted to see kind of the framework behind this project, you could look at that. And then those links would take you to the whole review process. You could, if you wanted to see what comments people had, both the expert comments, the peer review process goes through kind of an expert peer review, and then also community review. So you could see the comments from the experts and from the community members. And all that is documented. And there's just some basic statistics and some photographs about the project, statistics about the project, some photographs about the projects. And then there are some other cards down below there that just kind of give you kind of more of a snapshot of the project. And if you wanted to dig in and see the actual project documents, those are all accessible from this page as well. So you can see the project documents and also the framework documents, the methodology and credit class documents, if you wanted to dig deeper. Not sure if I'm back.
Those are on the credit class page.
Yeah. We can move there. Wanting to show kind of like how if you were to spin up a project today and you weren't issuing credits yet, what pieces would evolve, like what pieces then you would fill out. So here are the different roles that are played: program, admin, developer, verifier, and then this box being where, like Ned was saying, you have like project documentation that you start to put in, which is something cool that we're that we're excited to do, is to really evolve this space to where you can access more than just project documentation, but you can see more of what we're calling like data posts, where you can like literally like make a post about a particular like data set and have that be kind of like a part of the project like story, if you will. And then this is about the credit issuance and the like this additional info. So this stuff, what's great is now you don't have this stuff, but you can still spin up a whole page for it. And
Yeah, and to just double click on the data post stuff, that's a feature that will probably launch like end of June, and that will also be available for people that are, you know, logging in with Google or email and creating these simple project pages, and it'll be a place where you can add all kinds of photos and different types of data and make your page a lot more data rich. So we'll probably give a demo on that at another time, but just to say that that's also coming soon, and it'll be a really cool feature for anybody that does add these, does create these simple project pages prior to actual issuance.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, I think it would be great to give Marie some love. So Marie, can we get a wave, Marie, over here? So she is a genius engineer and deserves like a lot of appreciation for doing a lot of this really complex back end work. And we get to enjoy these interfaces at the end. So thanks, Marie. And she fixed something right before this, so that was really great too.
You.
Thank you.
Cool. I feel like it would be I'm just gonna check in on our chat because we're kind of now into like the hour where we get into like Q&A and breakouts and whatever needs might arise. So I'm gonna check Q&A while Ned and Austin, do you guys want to kind of touch base with everybody? Let's see.
Yeah, I think
Jessica.
we're probably ready to like to do some breakouts and to hear about people's projects.
Do it.
I don't have the authority to do that, so if you wanna, the
Yeah.
chat seems like we're pretty good. If you want to queue us up for that, and then we can answer. Happy to answer any questions.
So I'm seeing some awesome questions from Jessica
Oh.
in chat. Do we want to like touch on those now or dig into those through breakouts? What were you thinking?
I suggest we do it in a breakout. That way we can get a little bit more intimate of a conversation. But
Great.
folks can refer back to the chat in their breakouts if you want to try to engage this question.
So how many breakouts shall we do, everyone? We've got
3.
3 sounds good.
Me and Ned. And Erika and Marie can
Float.
jump in as they like.
Yeah. So the idea being that
Advantage.
within these breakouts, like projects can share about what they're doing with like somebody from the team, me, Austin, and Ned, and start to surface like questions and challenges, and we can just like talk and share and workshop some things. So participants can choose the room. I'll be in room 1, Ned room 2, Austin room 3. So see y'all in 1, 2, or 3. Hey everyone. How was that? So I feel like it'd be cool for a couple folks to share, like if it's like a takeaway, if it's an idea, something you want to like see in the future in general within this space or something more specific. Would love to hear from folks that have something fresh on their minds. I know we had a couple of things in our group. Don't be shy. Jessica had a pretty sweet idea. Jessica, you want to share your idea for methodology development?
Sure. I think, well, 2 things more generally. This group is fantastic. I'm loving to hear like the different things that people are bringing. So maybe more generally in the future, it could be good at some point to have some bifurcation or look at potentially like streams based on maybe mapping some taxonomy or the different threads that people are bringing. Like there's people with on the ground communities that are trying to figure out like how do I actually do MRV and issue these credits. There are people coming from like a systems lens, looking at markets and mechanisms. There's kind of like somebody suggested we should have some investors in the room to help us like get some of that insight and just make sure that we are inclusive of different stakeholders. As far as a more tangible idea that came out of the session, Josh said he's kind of like struggling to like rally people on to develop some really tangible methodologies and just needs like a little more work to get it over the line. So we were discussing potentially having like a methodology hackathon and engaging and connecting with the D-side community, who's like a group looking for a actual thing. And they've got, you know, they love running events. So yeah, we'll make a post on Hilo about that and make some, I can make some connections into that network. So yeah, just like bringing some of the Web3 people who love to run events, seem to have funding for it and seem to talk a lot. But I think just like rallying them behind an actual thing and some tangible like work together would be fantastic to, yeah, just bring a little energy and make things tangible. So I'll drop that in Hilo.
Thanks. I'll drop the link to that group in chat here too for anybody who wants to get in. This is where we post events and discussions, and yeah, hop in, feel free.
I'll just say that one of the things that stood out to me in our group is just how many actual tangible on the ground projects of regeneration there were on this call. Oftentimes in the larger space, there's like people who are systems builders and systems change and working through different sort of approaches. And it's like, we hope, and I feel excited about the level of truly tangible projects that are on the ground in Peru and in Ecuador and in Uganda and in Washington State that are in the weeds of the operational implementation of a lot of projects. And so I think the kind of like operational aspect of this, of like what on the ground project management, navigating governance and financing and the sort of technicalities of this stuff, I think is incredibly important to get into. And I'd love to get into some of those details with folks in subsequent calls, because I feel like that's where a lot of the sort of the real pivot point of the potential of eco credits and what we're trying to discuss can be landed, is when we work through the like, what does it look like in the day-to-day activities, the kind of operational overhead of implementation scale. I was really excited to hear that and like discuss that in our group. Yeah. And just maybe to respond to Jessica for a second, we have resisted on our own to like build too much structure into this. We want the structure to grow as it's needed, but not to impose it prematurely. So you saying like, oh, we should do that is great. Like maybe we should do that, but the momentum should come from people on the call being like, we want that level of differentiation, not like we're trying to over formalize it in the beginning. So we're super receptive to how this call might have different tracks. And what the taxonomy of that is could be a network-wide structuring principle that we could discuss. It surpasses just the bounds of the practicalities of this call. And a stakeholder mapping would be really cool. Maybe we could like initiate that with a high-low conversation, and it could channel into subsequent calls. But Ned's group.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a general information session. We talked a bit about kind of demand and supply, some questions about biodiversity. I'm not sure if people in that group had any thoughts on future builder labs, changing things or adding things or something that would be useful. We didn't really talk too much about this platform. Anybody has any comments or thoughts, or even outside of our group? I think it'd be good to have ideas.
I'm curious if folks are interested in creating a project page based off of this, and if they feel like that's appropriate for them. And Josh is signaling yes. And I realize I just might have cut you off, Gabe, but curious if what you all are thinking about with project pages or what's on your mind.
Go for it, Gabe.
Well, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that came up for me was just the fact that, it sounds like there's lots of kind of people who are trying to think through the MRV on the ground and, having maybe kind of, like a breakout room that's specific to that, or, maybe it's, we talked a lot about biodiversity and co-benefits and kind of some of the challenges there. So, getting those heads together to kind of think through some of the hurdles around that, I think would be really helpful. And, hopefully also kind of making those conversations more relevant to, the folks who are talking there, and then maybe there's another breakout room that's more relevant to other people.
Sweet.
Yeah, I guess the one other thing on the project pages would just be, I'm curious, like for folks like KCT who already, I think, have a page, would we go in and create a new one and then kind of migrate content, or is that something that we would kind of could get access to the existing page?
Well, this is such a good question, and we have Erika and Marie that I feel like could answer that with the most technical understanding. What do you guys think? If they've already got one spun up.
Oh yeah, I would just use your existing page. Have you guys on the registry side been administering that for them,
Mhm.
Becca? Okay, yeah. So we will have a feature, hopefully this year, that will allow for the creation of organizations that then have members who can all edit project pages collaboratively. So I've made designs for that. We have a lot of other stuff in the development pipeline, so I don't think we're going to get to it in the next 6 months. But when we implement that, then you guys can basically collaboratively manage your project pages and invite different people to be part of the organization that does that. So I would say for you guys for now, yeah, I wouldn't make another project page.
Good question.
Thank you.
I think that we should try out structuring the breakout rooms next time around some of the themes that have been coming up, like methodology, financing, MRV related stuff. And we'll just like inch our way, not too aggressively, but steadily towards like a kind of differentiation in this organic way. I think that's a really clear point of feedback I'm getting from this call. And yeah, feeling a lot of gratitude. Thank you all so much for showing up and building. Let's do the thing.
Agreed. If there are other topics that come up for folks, I just dropped the suggestion box link in the chat as well. So if you're like, oh, I forgot, I really wanted to pose that for a breakout, feel free to pop that in. Really good to see everybody. Thanks for all that you're doing. We're definitely trying to support you all do what you do. So thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.